America's most dangerous fault is likely to rupture in the next 30 years. This is by Joanne Kennel on the Science Explorer. Well, even Canada is warning her people that the West Coast could have a catastrophic earthquake, a huge, major earthquake from the Cascadia subduction zone. This has to do with, of course, the San Andreas fault line here. No, it's not the San Andreas fault, but it has to do with the area, which is riddled with fault lines people don't even know about. When people think of dangerous faults in the United States, the San Andreas fault likely comes to mind, but despite its notoriety, there's something potentially greater, another potentially greater threat located in the East Bay region of Northern California, and it's known as the Hayward Fault. The Hayward Fault is what could produce the greatest natural disaster ever to hit the United States. This is what geologists are warning about. Although the Hayward Fault is shorter than the San Andreas Fault, what it lacks in potential magnitude, it makes up for with proximity to major cities, lying directly under structures where many people live and work. The San Andreas cuts predominantly through remote areas, whereas the entire length of the Hayward Fault runs through densely populated cities such as Oakland, which has a population of 406,000, Fremont population of 224,000, and Berkeley population of 116,000, and it's not far from the San Andreas Fault, which has a population of 805,000, and San Jose population bigger, 945,000. So you see here you have a population of over 2.5, close to 3 million people. Given the Hayward's proximity to large populations, its rupture presents a huge risk. In fact, the U.S. Geological Survey described the Hayward Fault as, quote, the single most urbanized earthquake fault in the United States, end quote. Signs of the fault are found across the state: offset sidewalk curbs, cracked roads and homes, and even cracks in the University of California, Berkeley's football stadium. And what's more, in 2015, the Working Group on California Earthquake Probabilities determined that there was a 72% chance of an earthquake occurring at the fault in the next 30 years, one that could measure a magnitude greater than 6.7. So they're giving it a 72% chance. And let's always remember, they're always conservative in their ratings. The last significant quake on the Hayward Fault was in October 1868. It was estimated at a magnitude 6.8, and according to a 2012 paper published in the Bulletin of the Seismological Society of America, James Leinkampfer of USGS and colleagues determined that the fault's recurrence interval over the last 2 millennia is about 161 years, plus or minus 65 years. Since the last quake was 148 years ago, the state is currently sitting within the range. So, in other words, it's a ticking time bomb and it's ready to blow. It's overdue, they're saying. USGS led a study back in 2008 along with URS Corporation, Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, Stanford University, and the University of California at Berkeley to create computer simulations of large earthquakes on the Hayward Fault. The computer simulations included a total of 7 earthquake scenarios, 3 with magnitude 6.8 scenarios with different starting locations, epicenters that is, 3 with magnitude 7.0 scenarios with different epicenters, and 1 magnitude 7.2 scenario. One of the 7.0 magnitude scenarios using Oakland as a starting point can be seen. The Hayward Fault has a potential for immense devastation, but according to Steve Newton, geology professor at College of Marine in Kentfield, California, many people are not really aware of the danger it possesses, and some do not even know where the fault is. Although it's only a matter of time before a large earthquake on the Hayward Fault happens, How governments prepare for it is crucial and will make a big difference in the aftermath of this inevitable natural disaster. But the science is clear. The Hayward Fault is going to rupture in the future, and when it will happen, it's unknown when, but it's predicted to be quite soon. Unfortunately, the effects will be major shaking of infrastructure, loss of life and injuries, and economic damage. And the article appears in the June issue of Earth magazine. A study has been made. Most of California will plunge into the sea following a major earthquake there. According to a new study, large parts of California are likely to fall into the sea almost instantly following an imminent earthquake in the coming years, which is long overdue. It's more than expected. Researchers say that most of the state of California is likely to plunge into the Pacific Ocean following a mega earthquake, which could occur within the next few decades. As we said, it's long overdue. DC Clothesline reports, "When I came across news stories about this brand new study, I was absolutely astounded. Here's a short excerpt from one of them. The big one may be overdue to hit California, but scientists near Los Angeles have found a new risk for the area during a major earthquake. They claim that if a major tremor hits that area of Los Angeles, it could plunge large parts of California into the sea immediately, instantly, almost instantly. The discovery was made after studying the Newport-Inglewood Fault, which has long been believed to be one of Southern California's danger zones. So can you imagine what such a catastrophe would do to our nation, and how many lives would be lost if that were to happen today? According to the study, a California Mega-Quake would potentially cause some sections of Southern California to suddenly drop as much as 3 feet. That could result in vast stretches of land ending up at or below sea level. A total of 3 quakes over the last 2,000 years on nearby faults made ground just outside Los Angeles city limits sink as much as 3 feet. So today, that could result in an area ending up at or below sea level. This is what California State Fullerton professor Matt Kirby, who worked on the paper's lead author, graduate student Rupert Leeper. So that's amazing. It's quite a terrible thing if that were to happen. And we're not talking about something that would happen over a period of weeks or months. It would happen very rapidly, a very rapid sinking. Quote, "It's not just a gradual sinking, it's a boom, and it would drop. It's very rapid sinking," end quote. That's what Robert Leeper, lead author of the new study published in Nature magazine, carried out with the help of U.S. Geological Survey, told the Los Angeles Times. So could a substantial portion of Southern California someday actually slide into the ocean like we see in the movies? Well, scientists that were involved in the study say that the answer to that is definitely a yes, as we see in the movies. California State Fullerton professor Matt Kirby, who worked with the Leeper on the study, said that sinking would occur quickly and likely result in part of California being covered by the sea. Professor Kirby said, "It's something that would happen relatively instantaneously. Probably today, if it happened, you would see seawater rushing in." So if you follow this work regularly, you know that we've been warning the great natural disasters are coming in the United States, and that California Mega-Quake will be one of those disasters. Others have been issuing similar warnings for many years. For example, just consider what Dr. Maurice Sklar was shown. He said, "I saw a massive earthquake that just seemed to crack off the coast of California. It reminded me of the saltine cracker that just cracks in two. The great cities along the west coast just fell into the ocean, all the way from Mexico up to Alaska, and giant waves flooded inland until much of the west coast just wasn't there anymore. It had disappeared into the Pacific Ocean." So let's hope that we have as much time as possible before anything like this actually does happen. But scientists are also telling us that a tremendous amount of seismic tension is building up in Southern California, and that this tension could cause a major earthquake at any time. In fact, in my recent article about why people are moving out of California, I included a quote from an ABC Los Angeles story about how researchers are warning that a major earthquake in Southern California was, quote-unquote, way overdue. A recently published study reveals new evidence that a major earthquake is way overdue on a 100-mile stretch of the San Andreas Fault from Antelope Valley to the Tejon Pass and beyond. Researchers with the U.S. Geological Survey released the results of the years-long study warning a major earthquake could strike soon. Today, more than 38 million people live in the state of California, and as population density map of the state shows, much of that population is concentrated along the coastline. So if large sections of the California coast did end up plunging into the ocean, what would the death toll be? Well, it would be in the millions, obviously. Yes, and that would cause such a disaster that it would mean, what would that mean for the rest of the country? The west coast of the United States sits along the Ring of Fire of the Pacific Ocean. Roughly encircling the whole of the Pacific Ocean, this vast seismic zone contains approximately 75% of the active volcanoes in the world, and it produces more than 80% of all major earthquakes. In other words, anyone that lives near the Ring of Fire would be foolish to assume that they are immune from massive natural disasters. As we know, in 2011, a major earthquake along the Ring of Fire on the other side of the Pacific Ocean, in Japan, caused the massive tsunami to wash inland to Japan for many, many miles. And of course, that was the cause of the Fukushima accident, the nuclear disaster that's still going on. And scientists say that it will be going on for over 250,000 years. So if such a thing were to happen in Los Angeles or San Francisco, the death and destruction would be on a scale that would be absolutely unimaginably bad. When the big Hollywood film entitled San Andreas came out in 2015, a lot of people mocked the idea that things portrayed in that film could ever happen in real life. But now scientists are telling us that a mega-quake could cause large portions of California to immediately plunge into the Pacific Ocean, and that it is quite likely that this will actually happen someday. This is by Sean Adeltabatabai on your Newswire. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.